So Jerome Powell went live today, and boy, did he influence the market. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. If you didn't have time to tune on into our live stream where we actually went live and listened to Jerome Powell and what he had to say for the economic outlook and the Fed's response to the series of tariffs that have been implemented into the market. And as many of you saw, the market initially reacted in a negative way and then quickly recovered into the close. Now, is that sell-off an overreaction? Possibly, but based off of what Jerome Powell actually said, feel free. And I encourage you, right? If you're really trying to get into the market, it is 1 hour long. It is kind of a long live stream. But for you to understand why the market sold off, his sentiment, his tone is uncertain, and there is no question that the markets do not like uncertainty. In my opinion, there is nothing that he said that caught us by surprise. It was all common sense. It simply solidified one key factor, and that was when he was asked, and again, feel free to watch it yourself. I encourage you, don't just watch this video. He was asked, will the Fed step in to save the stock market? And he simply answered, no. That is not what the Federal Reserve's intention is going to be. And again, the markets from that point moving forward continued to sell off. So we were right around, I would say 448 when Jerome Powell went live. We began selling off, and then from there we showed lower lows and lower highs. At one point, Nvidia was down over 10% as it hit lows of $100 per share. Now, I can't speak for you, right? And the part that I want to always shed light on is I'm happy to see the markets drop. I want markets to drop more. It should drop more. With everything that's going on, I mean, did you guys hear the news today? The US, or the Trump administration, announced a 245% tariff on China. Why would the market skyrocket based off of the news? The trade war is not getting better. Negotiations between the US and China are not happening, and they continue to bicker back and forth with supposedly, as of now, no actual negotiations taking place. The thing that I even want to share with you is after losing $1.5 trillion from the stock market, we also heard the news that just in, China is now importing record amounts of Canadian oil after cutting US purchases by 90% amid trade war. So now is not only the U.S. not involved with specific trade, but now we have other countries that we have been either negotiating with or bickering with, working with one another. Now, this is kind of like the first real, I would say, partnership that is kind of being established that is not against the U.S., but definitely not in our benefit. So now it's like, are we so far that we cannot recover from this because of, is it ego? Is it actually trying to negotiate something with China? Obviously, China is not a country that is known to always play by the rules, but let's be honest, I mean, neither is the US, right? We kind of have to call it out for what it is, but obviously the US has its reasons, right? We're one of the world, or if not the world's largest economy. We import a great deal amount of imports, and in comparison, China has everything lined up when it comes down to supply chain. So each country has its leverage. I don't know if this is ego driven. I don't know if this is, again, something that we will actually end up resolving, but it's because we don't know, right? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know how long this is going to happen. So we cannot be surprised that more selling pressure can follow. My biggest takeaway from today is kind of like the common sense thing, where markets sold off of very simple questions that were asked to Jerome Powell. For those that do not know, Jerome Powell is the head of the Federal Reserve, and he was asked very simple questions about what he thinks about the economy. Is he uncertain about these tariffs? And I found it to be pretty interesting. I found it to be pretty interesting that he was actually kind of outspoken, which he normally isn't. He shared a lot of details. He says the level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated. And he also said that the same is likely to be true about the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. I was surprised when he was so outspoken about that. I mean, it's common sense. We all know that with incredibly high tariffs, right? Inflation is going to rise. Like, it's not rocket science. It always gets passed down to the consumer. So I don't know why people try to fight that fact that, yes, if you have higher tariffs, that inflation will be tracked in our CPI reports months down the road, and then inflation will go up. And if inflation goes up, then yes, that might lead to less growth because it's less profit that these companies are working with. It's just the way that our economy works. It's not rocket science, but to hear Jerome Powell say it, obviously it solidifies it a little bit more. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from today. I'm just sharing with you kind of like, thinking out loud that we all knew this. There was nothing technically new that was shared today, but it's because who said it that solidifies that all of the concerns that we had are pretty much, they are valid, right? Trade war is not over. Tariffs are impacting our economy, inflation, and potential slowing economic growth. And we are uncertain because of what it currently is going on. Now, again, if Trump begins to actually negotiate and figure things out, then that can resolve itself, right? Because then the problems will have a solution. Then at that point, markets can justify a support and begin to recover from there. But I want to remind you, next week is the start of big tech reporting earnings. What do we think? Do we think that these big tech companies, right? Some companies have been reporting earnings already, not big tech. Big tech is next week and the weeks that follow. How is their guidance for 2025? We just saw news come out yesterday for NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA going to be reporting a $5.5 billion loss potentially for Q1 of 2025 for a part of their business. It led to a 6.87% drop today. And at one point, they were down over 10%. 10% loss for a $2.74 previous trillion company. Think about that. $270 billion wiped in a matter of just hours. And this is the most valuable company that's publicly traded, that's growing very quickly. Not the most, but one of. So again, it's just, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's calm down. Let's not expect that the markets have to recover now because they really don't have a reason to. If solutions begin to get presented, then that's exciting. But then we will cross that road when it's actually presented. Let's not hope for a recovery, but let's wait for indication of it. As of now, stay patient, stay calculated, and remember, the only people that freak out when markets sell off are those that did not prepare or those that don't have any more cash to buy the dip on. And remember, you shouldn't be using leverage. You should only be using the cash that you actually have available so you can tolerate the time that it might take for markets to recover. I'm just sharing from the mistakes I've made and I've seen other people make as well. You do not want to be leveraged borrowing money when markets are still selling off. Again, you're borrowing money to lose money at that point. There's a saying that I saw in one of my comments is you want to use leverage as tailwind, not as headwind. I love that. So again, I'm very excited to not only learn more about the market, but also to see how the markets continue to react. Based off of what we are currently seeing right now, markets are trying to recover during extended hours, but they have no reason to. I want to see if that fear, if that selling pressure kicks back in tomorrow at market open, because again, we all know on the larger time frames, markets are still incredibly bearish and everything is pointing down and it has a reason to. So let's welcome it, let's embrace it, and let's load up on those deals, right? That's the part that I'm most excited about. I hope to see you for tomorrow's live trading session. That's going to be that second link in the description down below. Remember, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access. You don't have to join, but if you want the ability to watch me trade live every single day right at market open, then you know where to find me. Second link in the description down below, and I'll see you tomorrow at market open for our live session. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.